Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be on this big, beautiful planet we call home. This is the Drinks and Dave Show, and we are the Daves, and we'd like to welcome the thousands and thousands of people that are in the lounge right now. Okay, there's only two, but it's better than nothing. How are you, Dave?
Well, hey, Dave, did you see, just a while we were waiting, we went up to 3 viewers, and then it went down to 2. Like somebody said, I can't wait 1 minute for this. 1 minute. You know, if there's 20 seconds, maybe, but 1 minute, forget those guys.
Well, but maybe that person had to go
Hey, can I say we are viewable on the toilet? I'm not
Yes,
proud.
we are.
If you want to watch us while you're on the toilet, as long as you're muted.
Well, hello, Frank. How are you, buddy?
Frank is here. Beautiful.
We went from 3 to 2 to 3. There must be a lot of people having to go to the bathroom.
That's all right. That's all right. Or they see our ugly mugs and we're like, oh, I thought it was somebody else.
That's a good point. That's a good
But,
point. Well,
speaking of, how beautiful do I look today?
you look beautiful.
Thank you. The camera.
I'm also drunk, but that's okay.
I don't care. I had problems. If you saw the first few videos we did, my color was all cattywampus, and B Dave says, "Hey, you know what'll fix that? $140 in a order from Amazon." And here we go. It was Amazon was on my doorstep.
Wait a minute. Rich is here. Thank you.
Hey, welcome, Rich.
Well,
Matt,
good to see you, Matt. Let's get some things right out of the way. So, the Drinks and Dave's weather report is brought to you by. No, we don't have any sponsors yet, but we'll just say it's brought to you by Hombre's Barbershop and Nurse Dave's Shaving World. There you go.
Pimpin'.
So, what is the weather like where you're at?
You know what? It is perfect for me. My wife would say too cold. 63 degrees and sunny.
Wow.
Beautiful. How's it like in hell, Dave?
Oh, well, actually, we are not quite in hell. We are on the surface of the sun. So we're a small 15-minute ride from hell, but we are sitting at 102 degrees right now.
Wow. You know what? How many? That's a lot of degrees.
It's actually 102 of them.
Too many degrees is exactly what that is.
The avocado and I are probably going to come out and see you guys probably in September. That's the kind of the plan. We will let you know in advance. And maybe, just maybe, we can do a live show.
Could you imagine? That would be 4 hours of we wouldn't stop till the bottle was gone. That's
exactly. Speaking of bottle, what are you drinking?
That's a nice segue, huh? You know what?
Yes.
I went crazy. I've got single malt Japanese, slightly peated, which is very unusual whiskey.
Japanese peated whiskey.
Yeah.
So basically what that could be is the flaming muwashi. So they took a bunch of muwashis and they threw them in the peat bog. Well, actually, in Japan, there wouldn't be a peat bog.
Yeah. What's in your glass, sir?
My glass is Bombay Sapphire and Zevia grapefruit. So it's a gin and grapefruit with just a shot of lime juice.
Which I know that we're a cigars and scotch kind of couple. Are we a couple? That's a little bit odd. But when it's too hot out, this newly discovered stevia, grapefruit, and gin, oh baby, pour me a pitcher. Am I right?
Exactly. It is very, very good, and it's diabetic friendly, and it's sugar free. No guilt. So you can drink this stuff by the gallon.
Guilt until you're on the floor. You can drink that.
Exactly. Now, are you smoking anything specific tonight?
I got to get it lighted up. The official cigar of the Drinks and Dave Show. How does this work with this camera? I got to get there we go. It's out of focus. You show. Do you have this? Or is that what you're smoking?
Actually, today I am. No, I switched it up. Today I am smoking a Oliva Black Swan.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Olivia, but it's not, right? It's Oliva.
Yeah,
Oliva. So let's get I'm happy that I can do this outside. It's often too windy here, and so to join. So when we were trying not to chat pre-show, hold on, entertain him for a second, would you?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just to make sure.
I said I need to tell you
wait a minute. You told me to entertain him. hold on a minute. So
Oh, you
those
haven't
I
gotten
see
to
that
it
we
yet.
have 3 people here, and that okay. So that's Frank, Matt, and Rich. Okay, we had 5 for a couple of seconds, and boy, everybody must have small bladders tonight because they all keep going to the bathroom.
I think
At
maybe
least
we could stop talking about their private functions maybe for the rest of the show. Well, unless Rich brings up something.
that's a
Uh,
possibility.
so the cruise that we're going on soon, we did this deal where you book a type of room, not a specific room, and then they assign it to you. And it's been getting close, been getting close. We haven't gotten our room assigned. Finally got it assigned today, and I'm super excited about where it is. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
It is one deck below the spa, and not for the reason you may think. Here's a pro tip: if you are on a cruise ship, and if it's just 2 of you, probably no big deal. We're taking 2 kids with us. The changing room in the spa is the best place to shower and shave. So I walk up the stairs. I've got a huge shower to myself, a big old vanity, sink, all that stuff. Perfect.
Now,
Super excited.
what level is that on?
Deck 10.
And I assume 12 decks or 13 decks.
Yes, something like that. The
So
so the pool and the spa is on 10, and there's a few above that. Yeah. The
the good news is, and you're what deck are you on?
10, 10. I'm
Oh,
on
okay.
10.
So you don't have to worry about the pool leaking. So that's a good thing.
The pool.
Uh, and I assume that you have a balcony.
Yes, sir.
Great. That
Always.
sounds that sounds like
Always
a
a
lot of
balcony.
fun.
Did we say what Rich was smoking here? Did
It
we add
looks
this
like
in?
he says that he's
All
smoking a
right.
dog rocket. Oh no, I find Rocky Patel's cigar.
Beautiful. Thank
Nice.
you for joining us, Rich.
And I
Thank you.
assume that Matt said it's bedtime for the kiddos, so I think he's probably putting uh, Nate to bed. That's what I'm thinking. So,
If he just turned this on in the bedroom, wouldn't that be better than reading him a story?
oh yeah, it's guaranteed to make Nate fall asleep. That's for sure.
All right. So I kind of brought up the idea for today,
Hmm.
um, and the theme of the day is hobby pet peeves. And I figure we're going to spend enough time, show after show, talking about what we like. Right? We'll talk about watches, and we'll get into cigars in a more a whole show on cigars and all this stuff. But we'll be a little humble right now. We talk about
Mr. Cotter, Mr. Cotter, Mr. Cotter. Oh, I can't wait. You go ahead and finish your intro, and then I have got the ultimate pet hobby peeve.
all right. Well, but I just figure we'll spend the show picking hobbies, and then more specifically. So I'm sure we'll talk about shaving, but got to be a section about where we talk about our pet peeves of soap or blades, and then watches. We can go back and forth picking the topic, and then we'll share our pet peeves related to that. So go ahead if you got one in mind.
Watches.
In
That is
general,
in general.
all right. Let's
Here
hear
is
it.
my pet peeve. So, obviously, those people that know me know that I collect watches. And with that being said, some of them are nice, high-end watches, as you know. And my pet peeve is when, with an automatic movement, you need to send that watch into a certified specialist probably every 3 to 5 years to get it tuned up, to get it lubricated, to have the movement taken out, and then have it resealed if it happens to be
That
water
sounds
resistant to
very
a certain level.
sensual.
Yes. The big problem is when you talk about the big 3 names, and I'm talking about Omega, Rolex, Breitling, I guess you could put the other ones in there. You send your watch away, and it vanishes. It vanishes for 6 to 9 to up to 14 to 26 months. I had one of my watches that literally was gone for almost 2 years. That is my pet peeve. And I understand they have, they have Gunther and the very good people that make the watches very, very good. But you know what? Come on. There has to be a U.S. based, and that's the thing they get you. Hello, the enabled shaver. How are you? That's what gets you on these things. This is what gets you. Is they say you look it up on the line, you look at it, and it says Omega, certified service center, so you send it away. and it goes to Los Angeles or Albuquerque or Ottumwa, Iowa, or wherever it's going. And then something happens, and no, we have to send it to Switzerland. And it goes, and it's gone, and it's gone. So that's my watches pet peeve. And
How
yours?
come your Switzerland accent sounds like German?
Well, they're within like 150 miles of each other, so what the
Right.
heck?
So, and I should have added that I'm very well aware that all these pet peeves talk about first world problems, right? Like that, we'll acknowledge all that, right? So this isn't really complaining; it's for fun. So let's see,
Right.
a watch pet peeve. Well, the one would be is when you have a lot of automatic watches, and every time you put a watch on, you got to wind it, reset the time, reset the date. That's a pain in the tuchus. I get tired of that.
Well,
I've
that's
thought
what
about
watch winders.
I've thought about it. I've got two. Don't tell my wife. I don't think she's watching. There's only 6 people here, just between you and me.
Yeah, but we've only
So
wait a
there's
minute. We've only identified four. So
yeah,
one
I
of the
know.
two could be your
Well,
wife.
this could be more fun than anybody thought if I get the clotheslined while we're. But we've got a
Shish kebab
dresser
shish.
that has a top and then like a little gap. Like back in the days, maybe you'd put like a DVD player or something, and then the top. I think it's just big enough that I can line it with watch winders. I'm
Ah.
on the verge of doing that. Maybe
The
like 8 across.
Here's the problem with watch winders that I find. I mean, when you think about it, it is a solenoid that, depending on the type of movement that you have in your watch, either rotates counterclockwise or clockwise, or it does a both. Then it has a rest area. So I understand there is an IC chip in there that has to control that, and you have a little button.
Oh,
But the watch winders that are probably the best known and the best made are a company by the name of Wolf.
yeah.
Dear Lord Almighty, you
You're just
cannot
winding a damn watch.
exactly. So why are you spending $1,500 for a four-bank watch winder? Why? Why?
Yeah.
That
All
is a
right.
pet
Well, is
peeve
that
of
your
mine.
second watch pet peeve? Did that count?
Well, it's all part of the global pet peeve of watches, I guess.
Poor thing. All right. Well, I got another one then.
Yeah, we're
Is
so
that if you've
we're
got a
so.
metal bracelet like so, right?
Hmm.
Usually small adjustments you can make to make it fit just perfect.
Right.
I seem to always, when I've got the leather strap, the perfect fit is always between two holes. It's either tight and you get sweaty underneath there, or it's loose and it keeps slipping around your wrist. And every 5 minutes, right, you're doing the readjustment to get it up.
Can I make a suggestion?
Do you know better than I? Let's hear it.
Yes. Tandy Leatherworks.
What happens with that? Are they
They
custom
have
size?
no, they have a little punch. It's a leather punch. So if you need a little half between
Oh,
you just put a punch in, then you take your lighter and that'll burn the leather just enough to where it'll seal it up
yeah,
so
I
it
hear
won't
you.
fray. And then boom, you have your half link adjustment.
I hear you. I'm not. I don't. We've talked about this. I don't even change the straps on my watches, even when the watch comes with more than one strap. I don't. All right. Let's see. What's the? You picked watches. Well, let me pick cigar. What's
Okay.
your pet peeve with cigars?
That I don't have a larger humidor. No.
Ah,
I would say when a cigar, and this is probably my fault more than anything else, because looking at my humidor right now, I've got it set to where I want it, and I've been listening to Tim at Cigars Daily, and he has been saying instead of keeping it at 70 and 70, which is the natural rule for cigars, to maybe drop it down to 67 and 67, to get right around 138 as a prime number for cigars. But what bothers me is when a relight. I can understand relights in pipes, but relights in cigars bothers me.
mm.
Or when it's an uneven burn.
Oh, canoe. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it canoes, and then you have to go in with your torch and just flame off what could have been the 1/8 of a cigar that could have been perfect. Stephen, we're talking about these.
Well, the overall topic is pet peeves and hobbies. So we're picking out hobbies, and we're just complaining is what we're doing
Yes,
this
yes, this
entire
is
episode. And either one, you can put your pet peeves in the chat or
yes.
put a topic in the
Yes,
chat,
please do. Put
and
your
we'll bring
pet
it up.
peeves in there and we'll talk about them. We are the experts of bitching and complaining. I guarantee you that.
All right.
That
So,
yeah, that I would say that.
wait, you
Oh.
don't get two in a row. It's
Okay,
my
all right, you
turn.
go ahead. All right, you go ahead.
When the little flappy thing on the this is the head, right? The foot, you like the foot and you suck on the other end. But but when you when that gets loose and
Ladies
it
and gentlemen,
constantly then starts flopping in front of the
ladies and gentlemen,
opening.
Drinks and Dave's is an adult-oriented show, but we're talking about cigars. We're not talking about heads of any other type.
I thought I made that clear.
You didn't.
But you got a little dangly thing that always slides in front of where you're where you're inhaling from, and you got to put it back, and you push it down. That's my pet peeve. It's a little
Now,
dangly wrapper.
do you use a standard guillotine cutter, or do you use
Yeah.
a V cutter, or do you use a scissor cutter, or do you use a punch? Well,
Almost
you
always
could.
that. You know what? I got this from Spider KJ, and what's cool is it's got a backing on it.
Uh huh.
So I love that. You just shove it in there. You don't have to try to measure where's the end of the cap and all that, and just boom, and you're
Well,
done.
I know somebody else who got you a guillotine cutter that actually has your initials on it.
I do.
I won't mention who that is, but
That's in the collector area. We'll say
okay.
that. Yeah.
I never used to use a V cutter before, and I've found that a V cutter is the only cutter that I've found that doesn't allow that little flappy thingy. Or we learned a trick from our own Major Rich here, is you
Oh,
wet the tip.
wait.
Now, no, no,
Here's the
wait. I'm
thing.
not saying complete insertion of the cigar. I'm talking about you wet the tip, then cut it. Now, on larger ring gauge cigars, 56 to 60, I'll use a punch because I feel that a punch
Mm.
flows the smoke just a little bit better. And
Can we tell? I don't think Rich has no shame, so he won't care if we tattle on him. There was a get together on the Zoom where we watched him prep a cigar, and it was obscene. The places that his tongue touched on that, I was
I would argue that obscene is a strong statement. I would say a a man and his cigar in a sensual lighting
it
experience.
it was it
Hey,
was
wow, that was good. That
it
was
was
good. So,
sensual.
okay,
Okay,
my turn
well,
for another pet peeve.
yeah.
The rings. Years ago, these rings, after your cigar heats up and shrinks a little bit, you'd be able to take the ring, slide it right off the cigar, and save it in whatever collect, because we have collections and stuff like that. So nowadays you have to. They don't all, even if you squeeze the cigar a little bit and get it loosened up. A lot of times these rings don't just slide off. So in other words, you have to rip them apart, or you have to, and it's for those of us that collect these. This is an experience. In fact, I will show you.
Where are we going?
I had to get the thing. So this is probably
Oh,
2 years worth of cigars. Well, yeah, probably 2 years, and it's every single wrapper. And the story behind this bottle of Dalmore Cigar Malt cigar. This was my very first bottle of Dalmore Cigar Malt, one of the best scotches made. And I was in a Zoom call, and it tasted pretty good. Then it tasted a little bit better, and before I knew it, $180 bottle of scotch was gone, and that was
that's
in
where it's
one
meant
Zoom
to be,
call.
though. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, but I got in trouble for that one.
Yeah. Well, how when do you remove the bands though? Because I let it burn almost until it gets right to the band, and it's been okay. I hear what you're
Yeah,
saying
that's
though.
that's what I
Sometimes it
do. That's
doesn't.
that's
Yeah.
what I do. I do for the most part.
All right.
So,
Let me see if
I,
I can think of one more cigar one. Oh. When you again, you're gonna start thinking I'm talking about bad stuff, but when your ash gets too big, and
I've had that problem for 20 years.
right, that and right before you're gonna knock it off, it decides to let loose on itself, and you're jumping up with cigar ash on your shirt and your pants, and that's a
I think
killer.
that's I think that's an occupational hazard. I really
I
do.
suppose.
Because I think most of us try to keep the ash going as long as possible for two reasons. One, the cigar will not go out because the ash insulates the burn of the cigar. It also makes the burn of the cigar more even. So I think that,
Hmm.
you know what, I need to reach out to Tim at Cigars Daily and see if
Yeah.
he'll join us one of these days. So anything
Whoop,
else
whoop.
from the cigar type?
No, we
Oh,
can.
here.
There's a couple about shaving, so we can switch over
Well, wait a minute. There
and
was somebody that said something about removing.
yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about though. It falls off because he's wet the whole thing and it gets soggy, I think.
That's
All right.
yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, when you wet, when you wet the cigar, when you wet the cigar things like that, it's just like,
Yeah. All right. So far we've got two pet peeves in the chat shaving related. So let's switch over to that. And this was enabled shaver. Uh,
sorry.
that was meant for Rich.
Yes.
Um, the blind buys that you don't know if you get when you like, and of course it's not a pet peeve if you get it and go, this is amazing. But what's the percentage of wins when you do the blind buy? It's less
For
than 50.
me,
Yeah.
for me, I would say because based on watching your videos the last couple of days, you were not batting very well based
No.
on what you like. I have been fairly fortunate on blind buys, but I don't know if you could call it a blind buy because I see a soap like, for instance, when you did your shave with the Darwin shaving soap and aftershave. I love the label, love the vintage look of it, and it had lemon in it. I said, how can I go wrong? Boom. It's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I would say that on blind buys, but I guess you can't call it a blind buy because I've researched it.
That's what I was gonna. There's blind, and then there's like also I've gotten other ones from this company, and I'm getting this one I've never smelled before. I wouldn't say that's a blind buy. What you're talking about recently, I've tried a couple brands I've never tried, and I won't be buying those again.
Well, well, in that case, I would say, you know what? I would have to say that I have not done a blind buy then.
Huh.
Because I do research it a little bit, maybe not a lot, because there are times. Well, now, would you consider a blind buy seeing a label that looks really cool, and just because the label looked cool, okay, well, then I've done that. I've done that
Yeah.
because if it's well, for instance, okay, Noble Otter. I had never used Noble Otter before,
Yeah. Yeah.
not once, and I saw you use Logbook. Now, being a pilot, it was perfect. And I've been looking at Noble Otter for a long time because I love their artistry. I think their artistry is among the best. And so I bought that blind. And as it turns out to be kind of an Adventus clone, kind of.
Hmm.
And so it's a wonderful soap. So I've been fairly lucky as far as blind buys go for that.
Okay. So
So
here's another one. Soap bases cannot have been getting better with every new release every week or two for the past 5 years. Often one here otherwise. No, that's true. So there's a couple of things in here. One is new bases coming out, but there's some brands that have multiple bases out at the same time. Some the same freaking soap that you can get in different bases. And then I know that there was one that every 6 months or so was revamping their base. And I guess to this point with the Frank makes is that sometimes if it's a newer company, maybe they're tweaking their formula and doing better. But then it's like you're left hanging, right? If you got this scent you really like and they say, here's this one you really like, but now it's even better, what are you going to use the old nasty one? Or are you going to rebuy and get it again? Like buying the same record you had on cassette tape, and now you got to buy it on CD.
and I'll add to that. Now, here's my biggest pet peeve when it comes to shaving soaps. Wet shavers, as we know at our forum, we know that wet shavers overall are very reactive, extremely reactive. So, yeah, I'm going to address that one in a minute. Believe me, I'm going to address that one in a minute. But here's my pet peeve. So, a couple of weeks ago, well, let's go back. Let's go back about a year. Williams Soap announces that they are going to stop production of Williams Soap. So everybody goes ape freaking crazy and buys every single puck of Williams out there. Now, Williams is a good soap. No doubt about that. It's inexpensive. It's okay. Now, for you, it's not a good soap because there's nothing to it. Okay, so that's one thing. So everybody just bombs and gets everything. And then you have a certain percentage of the people that are buying it, such as Matt, are buying it for archives. In other words, to make sure that people have availability for it. So that's one thing. But then you've got the guys that are going to use that as, and this happens with a company called the Holy Black. The Holy Black does very limited releases,
Well, here you
and
go.
when they do, everybody goes nuts and buys them all out, but yet they're not buying it for themselves. These guys are what I call flippers, and what they'll do is they'll take that same soap that was $50 for the aftershave and the soap and sell it for $300. Now, is there a market for that? And hey, it's a free market economy. Let them do it, but that's a pet peeve. And then, more importantly, what's happened recently is those of us that are devotees to Mitchell's Wool Fat, the original 1893 formula, which probably has changed about a billion times since then. We all know that. But they just recently went from a tallow-based soap to a vegan-based soap. Now, I am going to challenge all of our viewers out there that I would be willing to bet that if in a blind study, if you take the old Mitchell's Wool Fat and you take the new Mitchell's Wool Fat and you mix them up, I would be willing to bet you that 99% of the people will not know the difference. And that's what my pet peeve is they're going crazy, creating threads that go nuts about, oh, God, we've got to get Mitchell's Wool Fat. We've got to get all this. We've got to get all this because we can't get the new stuff. I think it's a bunch of horse hockey, personally.
Wow.
So there's my...
Well, Barber Dave's opinions do not
necessarily reflect the shaving cadre or anything, right? So here's the one that I do want, and then you can take it for a while. I'll just wait for one of you two to piff out a giant box of stuff you bought blind that you don't want to like. So here's my pet peeve. The people...
Is Steven your pet peeve?
Steven waits. He lurks. He sits on top of a vulture and he waits. No, I'm kidding. Steven knows I love him, and I'm fat. And what's amazing is his hobby is beer. We know that, and I don't see him writing anything about beer. But as a matter of fact, there will be a piff coming out pretty soon from me because I'm cleaning out to do some other stuff. So, okay, Dave, your pet peeve when it comes to those things.
To shaving. Well, you already heard that the blind buy, yeah, and scents that I don't like. Wow, that's a tough one. Well, I guess it's just, and this sounds kind of dumb, but how long it takes to use up soap. I've said this before that if everybody made, like, if you get a sterling sample, right? It's a disc of soap that you could probably shave 20 times off of.
Yeah.
To me, that's the perfect amount of soap to buy because you can buy so many and you actually might use up a lot of them. Mm-hmm. It's, it gets embarrassing. You look at how many soaps you have and how many aren't even halfway used. That's my pet peeve, is having to buy too much soap at once.
Well, but wait a minute. Is that a pet peeve or is that a deeper issue
problem? Well, we'll have a different I know for sure we're going to have an episode on people that obsess on hobbies and rabbit holes and things like that. But I would like to buy more. I would like to experience more, but I can't. Well, whatever. Justify whatever. You can't justify having more than 2 soaps, but it gets tougher as the piles get bigger.
Now, here's an old one. Here's a very, very old version of what we probably have as a pet peeve now, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, if you start wet shaving or traditional wet shaving, it's going to save you money. That's a pet peeve, because that's a lie. That's a lie.
And along those lines, the ads from people that are developing, quote, new razors that look like the safety razors from the 1960s that think that they're coming out with something new and trying to get a new audience.
Exactly. So real quick, while we're on the shaving thing, I want to put up something that Enabled Shaver said. It said, limited drops can be stressful as you either buy the soap when it comes out or miss out. So I'm assuming when you say limited drops, you're saying like the the Holy Black, and I know that there's a lot of other companies that do limited editions, and it's true. And I think probably the worst, and it's not necessarily worst because you can't fault somebody for their business plan. If their business plan is to put out 50 soaps or 25 soaps, and boom, you get it or you don't get it, it is creating the want, it's creating the need. But on the flip side of that, it's also creating animosity where people are saying, I can never get a Holy Black soap, so therefore I'm just not even going to try anymore. So it's a double-edged sword.
Which sucks because I've never gone after their drops, but I've gotten some of their soaps on I forget what they call it. They're all labeled exactly the same. There's just a sticker on the back.
The secret stash.
Right. I've gotten some of those. And I like their scents. I mean, if they just crank these things out. Anyway, we're going down that.
Okay, one other thing from Enabled Shaver on the shaving thing, real quick. 2-ounce tubs for a fraction of the cost. I like that, Dave. Denton, I can't read the name. Denton Mojok does that, and it works for me. I don't know who that is. Enabled Shaver.
We're going to find out, and we're going to buy the shit out of it.
Yeah, you need give us the thing on that. I like that.
Yeah. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
Coffee.
I don't see a pet peeve with coffee. I think it is like the elixir of life. Oh, you're talking about like the different types, how to buy, what to get.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because this is right. These are things that we love, right? It's hobbies. We do it because we enjoy it. What can you think of that just sometimes you just,
Okay, I get it. So a coffee pet peeve of mine is that a certain individual bought a certain machine that was fairly automatic, but I still wanted the feeling of being kind of an at-home barista. So immediately after I saw that video of the name, and I can't tell me the brand. I think you can probably look into your mind and tell me the brand of that machine that you bought.
I actually can't. I forget what it is.
But anyways, so I went out and researched it, and I ended up buying a Breville, and it's very nice. But my pet peeve is that latte art is
you
something.
Suck at latte art.
That's what I'm saying. And the reason why I suck at latte art is because it is some type of demonic magic. It's just it's amazing.
Get you a course. There's got to be.
Oh, I've taken them all. Emily, in fact, right here on YouTube, if you want to check her out, a person by the name of Emily Bryant. She is a world-renowned latte art champion. I did not know that there were latte art champions, and there is. And she makes it look so stupid easy, and when I make it, it looks like, well, it doesn't matter. Now, it still tastes good.
So here's somebody that has a problem. Can't get enough extra shots at Starbucks to make their coffee taste worthwhile. Well, when we do the coffee episode, we'll talk about how Starbucks sucks and it's not really coffee.
Well, that'll be when we have Greg back.
Yeah. Whoops, I accidentally clipped on. I was going to say Steven doesn't realize that he can post whatever he wants in the chat, but he can't make it come up on the screen. Hey, buddy.
Well, no, I want to address that because my pet peeve is the people that think orange and black is not a good color. Because number one, Stephen, I am wearing orange, and he is wearing orange.
Not the giant. Yeah, this guy has an obsession. Just so that everybody else knows that he hates the Giants. So anything orange and black, they've sucked deep into his soul and have taken enough control over his life that it affects him every time he sees orange and black. So I think there's a lot of therapy that needs to be done there.
Yeah, I think that is a triggering. Thank you, P-Beat. I decided to put on a collar tonight. So, and welcome. We're talking about, if you just joined us, we're talking about pet peeves and people's pet peeves. Now, I will give Stephen the benefit of the doubt here that it says that his pet peeve is people that wear orange and black. Well, if that's the only pet peeve he has, then, good for him.
Pretty good life. Yeah.
But think about it. He lives in one of the most popular places in the world, and can you imagine him walking down the street How many? What is the percentage of people that are going to be wearing orange and black in that city on any given day? It must drive him
Mm,
crazy.
that's sad. Yeah. Man, so coffee pet peeve. Pardon
Wait,
me.
wait, before you go, look at this.
Yeah, yeah, I saw. I saw. That's all right. Have a drink, Steven. You'll be all right.
Yeah, and he
Crack
hasn't
open
brought
that
up a
beer.
he hasn't even brought
And
up a beer pet peeve yet.
in fact, you know what? People have not posted anything what they've been drinking. And P Beat, he's late, but he's always drinking something good. So let's see it. Um,
Here's one from the neighborhood show. The bigger coffee shops have little coffee and more milk and sugar. Very, very true.
right.
Because I know that when my better half goes to Starbucks and orders now if she's listening in the background, she'll get mad at me. A venti hazelnut latte, half the syrup, double shot, and they always screw it up. They always screw it up because she likes a strong coffee.
Uh-huh.
So I agree with you on that one.
Cold coffee. How quickly you have to drink. Now it's gotten better. Now that I've become an aficionado, and you learn that a little bit cooler coffee, um,
Oh,
you can get more flavors and things like that. Yeah, I see. Don't click on that. Oh, Dave, I'm going to start a war. Um, but
well, after you're
but
done,
but
we have to talk about this.
when it gets, you know, it's expanded. So it used to be that it's too hot, it's too hot, it's too hot, it's perfect. Now it's too cold. Like the range for drinking coffee when it was enjoyable was about 7 degrees. Now maybe that's expanded to 20 degrees,
Hmm.
but you've got a short period of time to really enjoy it, and then it gets a little too cold. It's not terrible, but you wish it was better. So I don't like the countdown effect of a coffee mug of coffee. And lesson to myself, which I haven't learned yet, is make smaller cups, right? So then you don't have to guzzle it all to get a whole big old mug in a certain period of time. You just
Hmm.
make it twice.
Well,
Cool.
the thing is, like when I go to work, and this will lead into Panteja's question. Like when I go to work, I use one of these. It's
Yeah.
a contour, and I'll make my cup of coffee. And this thing will keep the coffee hot for about 7 hours. So I'm happy with that. I'm
Well,
very
and
happy
at
with that.
at work, I've got it's called an Ember mug that
Right.
you set the temperature on the app of exactly what you want it to be at, and it keeps it exactly there.
Hmm.
That's heaven.
Well, so let's bring up that because I think we're about to be ganged up on because Panteja asked, what about Pete's? And then Tig Lily said, Pete's is great. So I will give you my opinion and then you can give you. I think
No.
Pete's for a store brand bought coffee, I think Pete's, especially the Major Dickinson's, is not a bad daily. It's like bourbon. Bourbon you drink when you drink bourbon when you have no scotch, and it's a daily sipper. Boy, am I going to make people mad on that one. It's a daily sipper. It's easy, and Pete's is that way. I think Pete's is good. Okay, Dave, take it.
Well, I don't think my opinion matters here much.
Oh,
I'll leave it at that. No, no, no.
you
Really, I
chickened
don't.
out on that one.
Really, I don't. I only go and I drink black coffee when I go to these places, and they don't do black coffee well. They might do flavored things, and I think pizza's a little less burnt than
Oh, wait,
Starbucks.
well, wait a minute. You guys have actually okay. Now, see, we're back from the hills of Arizona, so we don't have a lot of these good things. But you guys actually have a Pete's coffee shop.
Where do you get your pizza? Oh,
We buy it
Costco,
at the store.
dude. Yeah, there's
You guys
pizza out here
actually
like
have a
there's
Pete's
Starbucks out
coffee.
here, all
Oh
over the place.
man, see, I'd be there every day.
All right, well,
So see,
woman.
Pantea. So Pantea is right. You're wrong. Period.
All right, PB. Well, we gotta stop and we gotta know. PB's drinking Ardbeg. There's a lots of different Ardbeg. So is it the Ardbeg 10, or is it something else? I just need to know. And
Oh,
then
see, I learn all kinds of good things. See, you know what? You need to have Pantea on here more often
well, now
because
so
I
the
did not know
Northwest is known
Pete's.
for coffee, right? We went to
Right.
the first Starbucks up in Seattle. That was pretty cool. But just like microbrews, Seattle or Portland and Washington State have coffee shops all over the darn place. But San Francisco, Oh, also a Blue Bottle. Do you guys have Blue Bottle around there, or at least in the
No,
stores? Uh,
we have Starbucks, and we have oh God, what's the other one? Dutch Brothers.
Judge?
Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers. What, in the store?
Oh
Or you're
no, well
talking
they have their own
coffee
store. No,
shops?
yeah, there's
Oh.
coffee shops,
Yeah, but
but
Dutch Bros is the farthest thing from coffee, right? I don't think you can even get black coffee there. It's all 48
so
ounce purple swirl.
but I'm assuming based on the question, and that there's a story behind this that we don't necessarily have to go into, but that Pete's is something that Panteja likes. Is that correct?
I would say, yeah, she doesn't drink Starbucks more than Pete's, though. Yeah.
If now, should we worry if we see an axe come from the side of
She
the
won't,
screen
I'm
there?
smoking. She won't come out here. I'm safe. Yeah. I gotta. So we asked Steven, and he ponied up, so let's give him due respect. He has a beer pet peeve. People getting too snotty about light American lagers. It's still beer, works just fine by the lake or the ball game. Don't be that guy. So that, I mean, that's a fair comment, right? That
Sure.
same with any hobby, right? The guy that uses a safety razor, but like whatever gel out of a can, if that's what works for him, there's no reason to be buying tubs of $20 soap and this and that. And we learned, what was it, yesterday, that I don't enjoy beer, unfortunately. But from what I hear, this is the refreshing stuff, right? If you're hot, you've been working out, you're not going to get a nice, heavy, dark beer that is going to quench your thirst. You want something light that you're just going to kick back and.
Well, and that's like we told you, try a Blue Moon, a Hefeweizen, a wheat beer. But I need to go back for 1 second
Uh-oh.
because there is a little bit of controversy in one of the statements you made as opposed to what the truth is.
Well, okay, well, but ask how much she drinks of each. Which one do you drink more often? That's
Yes,
what I
ladies
was
and
going to.
gentlemen, we're getting somebody in trouble here tonight.
Oh, so here we go. So look at this. This is not your. Hold on. Stop clicking on the stuff,
I
Dave.
meant to click on something else. Sorry.
This is not your typical Ardbeg. I have not tried this one. I've had 4 different Ardbegs, so I'm going to have to try that. So thank you for pointing that out. That's not your run of the mill Ardbeg tin uh, in the thing. So what
So
we were.
well, we're back on beer again. So the one nice thing, and hopefully Steven here will type in that what would be a good, and everybody here in the all of our barflies, tell us what would be a great beer for Dave to start off with.
Okay, wait.
Go.
Wait, but they need to know what I don't like. And I think I don't like hops because I've tried not all sorts. I told you guys about every couple years I'll take a sip of somebody's and I just hate it. It's not like, oh, I don't prefer this. It's just like I hate the taste. So I assume that it's hops because that's the common factor, right?
I don't even know if they still make Miller Genuine Draft. Steven would know that. But that's Tig Lily's favorite. Another one is good. Is I think Blue Moon is very good. I think Sam Adams Summer Ale. And you are a big lemon freak. You love
Yeah.
lemons. You would love Leinenkugel. You would probably love Leinenkugel.
What?
It's a shandy. It's called a summer shandy, and it's basically a lemon infused beer. It's wonderful if you like lemons. I mean,
That
and
sounds like
it's
that would get me laughed out of our Zoom calls if I
no,
was
no, no,
drinking
not at all.
something
No,
like that.
no. Actually, the Sam Adams Summer Ale is that. Blue Moon uses orange in their beer.
Right, but see, if it has the undertone of hops, that's all that's going to come through to me.
No, but a lot of those won't. But see, there you go. Tig Lily hates beer.
Sam Adams Summer Ale. All right, we can give it a shot. We can give it a shot. Here, I want to point this out because I looked it up. You talked about the machine that we have for coffee, right? It's one of those
Mm-hmm.
you hit the button and it makes a cappuccino, right? We use Ely coffee in that. Um, because we think that that's great for espresso. So that's one
Yeah,
that
we use that. We use that as well. We get it at our. We've got a. You can buy. I think you can find illy at most local grocery stores. At least we can here.
well, you can get it. Another hint for you're welcome for all these hints I'm giving you today. You can get a 6 pack of it comes in the tins, right, from Amazon.
Yeah, we
Super
did
cheap.
that. Yeah, we
Super
did that.
cheap.
We did that. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to because as you know, as far as coffee is concerned, I drink a very very dark, robust dark roast.
Yes.
And Greg
Yes, you
pointed out
do.
in our show. Well, Greg pointed out in our show that to try more of a lighter roast to get some more of the flavors because he feels that the flavors in a dark roast kind of get muddled up because of the roast. And I have been, and I have to say that I am starting to like that.
Well, okay. Well, that's interesting, but it is, personal preference, right? The shaving. If you just want a super easy, thoughtless shave, you use a safety razor. You think a little bit more, and it might be more fun and different experience using a straight razor. But some people don't want to deal with that. They just want super quick and easy.
Well,
This is not a beer.
I hate to
Let
say
me
this
just
to you,
point out.
Dave, real quick. I hate to say this to you, but Pantay is saying that she'll drink Blue Moon with us. So you need to get with the program because I know three of us really
Yeah.
like
All
Blue
right.
Moon.
So let me say, I'll try it, but then you also get into the carb factor, which is why I won't do what Enables Shaver's doing because I would down the Angry Orchard. Those things were the best, and that's what I would have when I was working out and the heat and sweaty and all that stuff. Um, but tons of sugar in that stuff, and same with beer, right? It's different. People laugh when we say Scotch is a pretty decent if you don't want carbs and all that stuff, but it is low carb.
Well, the thing is with beer, though, I mean, nowadays, especially, a lot of the major companies, whether it be Coors, whether it be Budweiser, whether it be, they're all coming out with a low carb version. For instance, I have not tried. I did try the Michelob Ultra, and it wasn't bad. I tried the Corona Premier, I think it is, and it wasn't bad. So you can find lower carb beers out there. As far as White Claw, that is a big. Oh, how can I
Oh,
say
here it
this
is.
Wrong.
nicely? Exactly.
Wrong.
Yeah, we don't do White Claw here.
Here it goes. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of beer, I don't know if you heard about this. There is a brewery down in Nogales, and everybody here in the barfly room and the lounge is gonna vomit. There is a brewing company, and I don't have it here. I may have to use it later. But what they've done is, I think it's called the Nogales Brewery. And what they've done is they've taken reclaimed water. And yes, what I mean by reclaimed water is effluent water
They
that
drink
has.
that on the space shuttle or whatever, it's all
Well,
right.
you drink your own urine. I mean, it gets filtered and it turned back into water. And so this brewery, Nogales Brewery, is taking treated water, filtering it, and making a light Hefeweizen type beer. I have not tried it yet, but everybody that's tried it here in the local area, because it's a local brewery, says you can't tell the difference.
But what's the point?
There's no chunks.
Why?
For
Why?
lack
But
of,
why?
well, because water is an issue, and if they can take effluent water and
Uh,
filter it and make a beer, then
I
you know.
see.
And I knew that I was going to get some oohs and ahs out of that.
No, no, there was no Oz. It was just
There's
ooze.
just the ooze.
All right, all right. You ready? Next one.
Okay,
Scotch. What's your pet peeve with Scotch?
none.
Oh, come. See, you're not trying hard enough, Dave.
Well, I like Lefroy. Once you like Lefroy, really, I would say this. Lefroy, if you like that peaty, punchy, band-aid in your face type of scotch, then Lefroy is for you. Ardbeg would be a refined version of that, in my opinion. I don't like sweet scotches. I like to have a little bit of a
Okay.
punch.
Okay. You're having a rough time. That's okay. That's not a pet peeve. That's personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about these ahead of time, but I thought of one while you were talking because you mentioned it before. In the summertime, when you got your scotch sitting outside, you get the little no-see-um bugs that like to fly in there and die and float around in your scotch, and then you got to fish them out. That's a
No,
pet peeve.
no, but here's the pet peeve that has just fixed that. Ladies and gentlemen, go over to
Oh, Jesus
www.theshavingcadre.com and get your challenge coin. It is 2.25 inches, and it will fit right over the top of your Glencairn glass
yeah.
and prevent the no-see-ums. See?
I've
Fixed.
got a bunch. I got a bunch of stuff that you got to just remember to get them out. And this is the one I was actually thinking about, but I was trying to think: is this a pet peeve? Because one, Scotch, I would say in general, is double the price of bourbon, and then you very quickly get past that price point where a lot of the stuff that's aged more than 12, 14 years, you're up in the three figures. And that's kind of
True.
annoying.
True. Now, here is a
Uh,
Scotch hater. This is a Scotch
well,
hater.
all I know is sometimes they're lucky that we're desperate for viewers. Otherwise, we'd be kicking these people out right and left.
But this is actually a good pet peeve, though. This is actually a good one.
Well, now, what's the rule? What's the golden rule? What's the best way to drink scotch? However you like it. Even though that's a load of shit and people shouldn't put ice in it or cool it down,
I'm
but
going to have
that's
to
the golden
beep
rule.
that word out.
Well, I've seen.
Well, and the thing is, okay, all right, and is now that we're going down this, and I agree, Scotch neat is the purest way of doing it. But when you're sitting in 104-degree heat, dropping an ice cube in
Yeah,
a Scotch does not hurt it. In fact, sometimes it blooms some of the fragrances in it, and it makes it okay. Bourbon
that's
always has to
beautiful,
be drank.
Dave.
Yeah, but bourbon always has to be drank with like pounds and pounds of ice. But here,
Go ahead.
here is one that. So I need to ask PB about this. Kronenberg Blanc, is that a wine or is it a Scotch?
Am I gonna have to? We're gonna have to live Google this stuff,
Yes. So,
and
but
it's gonna
then
auto
but
correct
then
the spelling of that ten
now
times.
many of our viewers do not know how intelligent you and Panteja are about wines. And so that would be the next one we should lead into is wine pet peeves. French
What
beer.
is this
It's a
stuff? It
French
looks,
beer.
yeah, flavored white beer.
Ooh.
Beer brewed with spices and with natural flavor, caramel color added. I don't know if this is gonna.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
very
you
light
can't.
and summery. Well, I can guarantee you that if Steven hasn't tried it yet, he will probably be trying it because that sounds actually very, very good. So thank you, PB, for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about pet peeves with wine. And I'll let you go first because you're the expert. You're the aficionado.
Let's see. I got to think of something. Oh, because price would be the number one. Again, you get anything aged or exclusive, the price goes crazy. Um, I guess it would be. I don't know. This is super bougie or whatever. I mean, ridiculous. It would be people opening a bottle of wine with a corkscrew. When they put the corkscrew all the way through the cork, you're risking poking part of the cork down into the bottle of wine. You never put it all the way through. So every time I see that,
Okay,
that
well,
drives me
based
nuts.
on that, then, okay, because I've had that happen. What? Okay, there's a good question from Tig Lily. Do aerators really help?
Yes,
Okay,
if
that
you
was
have a
quick.
new wine, right? So we have wine that sits around and it ages here, and you don't need that. But if you buy a bottle at the grocery store, that's pretty new. And what it does is instead of pouring it into a decanter and waiting for an hour or two, it speeds up that process. So if you're going to open it, pour it, drink it right away, send it through an aerator. Yeah.
Ah, so like what those pourable aerators, those things.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So okay, here's another one. When we're talking, I know we went to wine, but we're just talking about libations. Your preferred whiskey, Dave. Now, whiskey with a Y as opposed to an EY. So we'll say bourbon
Right.
style or Canadian.
So the question is false because it's bourbon is with a EY.
Well, let's cover the whole thing. So your preferred, if you have to drink bourbon, if you have to, what would be your preferred bourbon?
Jesus. This is high school answer maybe, and it could be in my head. Which if it is fine, right? Because whatever you
Mm-hmm.
like, Blanton's. I still keep a bottle of Blanton's around, and
Okay.
almost all other bourbons that I started with, the ones that are still around. Every now and again, I'll open one, pour a little bit, drink it, and then pour the rest in the sink.
Okay.
I just can't.
My favorite bourbon, and I've got a bunch of them, and I will drink them. I give Chad over on the forum a lot of hard time about it, but mine would be Rabbit Hole Derringer, because the whiskey is finished in Jimenez sherry casks, and it has
Yeah.
just enough of a sherry flavor that kind of takes away the bourbon esque part of it. And I like, for a daily drinker, if we go to our friend's house and play dominoes and have food, I will drink Crown. I will drink it.
You know what I just realized is you just said, and I've seen you do this, and it's never really registered till now. You drink bourbon on ice.
Yes, I
I've
do.
always tried to drink it straight, and what I have left, I ought to try it on ice and see how that is.
Quite frankly,
Um,
that's the only way I really enjoy bourbon is usually on ice, because I find that the bite on bourbon is too much because it's young. Bourbon, for the most
mm,
part, is young. Where Scotch, even if it has that dark, peaty, smoky band aid, it's very smooth when it goes down.
yeah.
And so I yeah, I mean that's what I would do.
Well, we're getting away from pet peeves, which is fine because
Uh huh.
we'd rather have the interaction.
Oh, here's a
Um,
good one. Here's a good one.
well, and again, not snotty, right? So
Right.
the whole idea of wine in a glass bottle that has a cork is that the cork does let some oxygen penetration, and so it's the oxygen that will slowly age your wine over time, right? And for me, I love a wine that's at least 5 years oldish. Tastes much better than a couple years old. Um, but if you're buying it from the grocery store and drinking it right away, it's very young. And so at that point, it wouldn't matter. You're not sitting there aging your wine. So it's not important if it's in a cork.
So, what's interesting is, as we talk about this, I'm reading in the chat from our barflies, and it's a great conversation that's going on, because Pantea is saying glass bottles all the way, and I have to agree with that. The plastic pouch never breathes. Red wine all the way, and that's Tig Lilies. And the big thing is, and I know that there's going to be an agreement from a certain person here, is that the Crown Royal velvet bags, those can be used for so much stuff. Some people I know use them for a purse, but that's another story. And this brings up a good thing. Louis Jadot Pouilly Foussé is a fantastic
Mm.
wine. It really is. I have not had the chance to try the Paradox yet, but so we're getting kind of off topic on pet peeves, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and this is what PB says is true is that, some people want the convenience, but want a little bit better wine. And
Hmm.
so they've even some better producers are also producing it as a keg. So some places can have better wines on tap. So
Well,
like I
that's
said, unless
interesting.
you're aging it, the vessel really doesn't matter if you're drinking it young, you know?
That's a good point. And the thing is, we have. I know that obviously where you're located at, the availability of wine and being able to go directly to where the source is very good. We have the same thing here, because what was interesting to me is to find out that geologically there is a ring that goes around the
Yeah.
planet that seems to be the best places to cultivate wine and good flavors. And down here we have what we call the area down south and east of us, that's got wonderful wineries. I mean, there's probably 15, 20 wineries down there. Coco Pelli Winery is one that is just one of the fantastic. So I think we've probably beaten wine to death. So
I was
let's
gonna-
talk about another pet peeve. Let's talk about, let me pick one out. I don't know. You pick one for hobbies, because that's what it really was for.
Well, let's see. What are our hobby? We talked about cigars. We've talked about alcohol. We've
Shaving,
talked about shaving.
collectibles,
What?
collectibles.
That's easy. Space.
Oh,
there's only so much space you can display your collectibles in before either you don't have space, so you've got to keep them boxed up, and at which point it's just it's just in your head, your collectibles, or it looks like you're at a thrift store, right? You're putting everything out so you can see it, and it's not a pretty display.
okay, all
Right.
right. I would get now when you said space, I thought you were talking about NASA related items, which is a rabbit hole that I don't even want to talk about. But PB brought up a good one, Hot Wheels. Now, I guarantee you there's not a male, or I guess you could argue, say female, there's not one of us alive that has had probably a Hot Wheel that's worth $60,000 that's probably broken into pieces. The Hot Wheel market has gone crazy. And so, when you talk about pet peeves and hobbies, I think one of the biggest pet peeves that I have is that I wish I would have taken care of stuff that I had when I was a kid a little bit better because I had, like, for instance, G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe Air Force pilot, which I had with the fuzzy head, they had real hair kind of. That thing is worth $27,000.
Yeah.
Just that one. And who knows where those all went.
Yeah, but that's the case with everything, right? You think about even stuff that our kids had when they were younger, but you don't know which things are going to take off,
Right.
and you can't keep everything.
Oh, here's a good question. This will be for you, Dave. What's your favorite pet peeve from a Disney cruise?
Oh, do
That's
you
a
want the
good one.
lame answer to be when it's over?
No, 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 no. You need no, 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 no.
Pet peeve of a Disney cruise. Oh, that's not even fair. I guess sometimes it would. I guess it would just be trying to balance doing everything versus relaxing. Right. So that's why the longer cruises are better. Because if you take one that's 3 or 4 days, you really do feel like you don't want to miss out on stuff. If it's longer, you feel like, well, I've got X number of days still. I don't need to go to that trivia or I don't need to go to that show.
Well, talking about cruises though, now we don't have the experience in cruises like you guys do, especially with one cruise line. But what we have found, and I think everybody probably goes down this rabbit hole when they first start cruising because of cost. So you go to the big cruise lines that have thousands and thousands of people, and you find out. We took a cruise one time that went into Jamaica and Cozumel and stuff like that. And the one thing that we didn't like about it was the fact that number one, there were so many people, and number two, it ended up being a party boat.
Ooh.
So and that's something that we're learning as we get of the availability to be able to go on cruises. But I know that my spouse, the pet peeve that she has is that you get into a port and okay, you get into a port at 7 o'clock in the morning. We're pulling up anchor and we're leaving at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I understand that what the cruise lines are doing is just giving you a taste of where you want to go. But I wish that a cruise would go, and I know it would be stupidly expensive, but you go to let's use the Alaska cruise for an example. You go to Skagway, spend 2 days. Or you go to Juneau and spend 2 days. So you can really feel it instead of having to rush around everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be my pet peeve for cruising, but in the limited amount of cruising that we do.
Well, and that they pay, I don't know if it's per minute or per hour, but the cruise ship has to pay a ton of money when it's docked up.
I did not know that.
So, yeah. So that's why the only cruise, I mean, there are some high end cruises that'll spend a few days. Oftentimes, St. Petersburg, for some reason, they'll do 2 days there. Maybe they've got really cheap dockage fees. I don't know. But yeah,
Right.
you're right. It's a different, you either go without a cruise to see how the locals live and relax and just experience it, or you do the cruise and you get little bits and pieces. And some people say it's a way to see where you want to go back and spend a longer time.
Well, and that's the kind of the way I look at it is if you want to go back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing with
Here,
with cruising.
here's a question: Is this true?
No, no, it is not.
No, is that
It is
still a
not true.
thing? People had bags and bags full of Beanie Babies. Remember, but it's only certain ones, right? You buy
Hmm.
like 100 of them, and hopefully there's one or two. that whole well, like that's true for any hobby, right? This if you're not in the hobby, one, you don't know about this stuff, and two,
Hmm.
you wouldn't know that one variant of some zebra is hard to find and it's worth all this money. But whatever. Same with shaving, right? There's some razor that nobody would see the difference of that and something else, and it's no longer made and worth all sorts of money. And
Well, and the thing is, we can probably close out the cruising part of it. Is expensive cell service on the cruise. I've never really worried about it because
right.
I usually turn the phone off. Um, you know,
Well, you can't. There's not. I mean, you can buy Wi-Fi packages, but
mm,
cell service is what is it? Something cellular at sea or something, and it's like per minute.
right.
Crazy. Yeah, people don't use their
So
phones.
here's a pet peeve, and this is not necessarily a hobby pet peeve, but food. So I remember there was, and we're talking about food pet peeves, and I don't know if this is something that I've got a black cloud hanging over me, but it seems like every food. Oh, and by the way, I did try the Reese's peanut butter covered animal crackers. Oh dear Lord.
Yeah,
Oh
nobody
dear
hates
Lord.
those.
No.
Yeah.
But here's the pet peeve. But here's the point. You go into a store and you find something you really, really like. Now, here was one years ago, and you guys probably don't even remember it, but it was a Doritos brand, and it was green onion and sesame.
A
It
what?
was it was a Dorito.
Potato? A
No, it was a
Dorito?
Dorito that was green onion and sesame. Oh my lord! It was the best Dorito ever, and of course, gone. Then there's a multitude of foods. Okay, and I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but when I was a kid, there was this thing called the Carnation Breakfast Bar.
Yes.
And the Carnation Breakfast Bar was not like a soft, chewy granola bar. It was a hard, crunchy. It was incredible. And of course, they're gone. So that's the problem. That's the pet peeve I have is foods that you really like, that you enjoyed, are gone. Gone. And I'm sure you have some. I'm sure everybody here has.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't remember though, because the best Dorito flavor is Cool Ranch and always will be. But
See, I like the
right?
salsa verde. I like the salsa verde.
Well, I saw. They have mustard Doritos
I heard about
currently.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's hot mustard,
Have
so
you
I don't know if I
tried it?
like that. No, I looked at it. You can get 2 bags on Amazon for $20 or something. I mean, not crazy for something that you'd like have to order from. It's probably not, and maybe it's a Canadian thing or something.
Well, and here's the thing, what the pet peeve is once you're conditioned to having
Oh,
a food item that you really,
yeah.
really enjoyed, a food item that you loved, what happens is you go to the store and if you see it, you buy it all because you have the fright that it's going to be gone.
How about this? How about this pet peeve is foods that are only available in other countries, other flavors that you can only get. What the hell is with that? You're telling me so I don't like them, but I know that it's what is it? Ketchup potato chips in
Oh, those are
Canada, the
awesome.
thing?
The sticks. Yeah,
But
those were
but
good.
what the hell is there's like an imaginary line that below that people don't like ketchup potato chips and above it it's the most popular thing in the world?
Now,
That
see,
makes no sense.
Rich just made something that would be a godsend, and that is wasabi Doritos. Oh, those would be awesome. But
Hmm.
but the other side of that is, Dave, is that if you go to the Coca-Cola experience in Vegas
Yep.
and you taste some of the Coca-Cola flavors that they have in other countries,
You don't want to. Yeah.
oh my
I hear
lord.
you.
Oh my lord, it's horrible. But do you have a food that you remember from whether it be childhood or not too long ago that you really liked that you may have bought one thing of, and then you find out that it's been discontinued or it's gone? That's a pet peeve.
Yeah. I don't know, I wish I'm sure there is. My memory sucks, so I can't think of what that is. I think maybe uh probably um candy bars. There used to be not only did they used to be like regular size and now they're all miniature in your hand, but like they had whatchamacallits. And I know you can go to some stores and get these one-off things and all that stuff, but it seemed like we had a better selection of candy bars before.
Right. Well, and this brings up a good point. Is food restaurants that were great and you could get good stuff, and now they're gone. We're lucky here where we're at is we've got a lot of local companies that, like Pat's Chili Dogs. It's been around since 1940. That you can still get good stuff. Lucky Wishbone, stuff like that. That's really local. But yeah, I mean
I
everything
thought of
has
one that
changed.
maybe it's where we live and it's all bougie around here. Maybe not so much the Midwest, but I everywhere restaurants I used to go to had chef salads,
Hmm.
and I almost never see them anymore. With the thin cheese that probably came in a slice, and they sliced it up and laid it out on one side, and
Hmm.
slices of turkey on the. I love a good chef salad with a vanilla shake that came in the tin with the extra stuff in it. That was yeah.
Well,
Don't
see,
see
that's
that.
just it. Like another pet peeve that as far as we're talking about food is here in Southern Arizona. We're known for the steakhouse. The Cowboy Steakhouse. And
Mm.
we had these wonderful steakhouses where you had the what we call the Baracho beans, which is just beans in a bowl, and the T-bone steaks, and you had a salad bar that was literally a salad bar. There's only one place left in town here called the Silver Saddle Steakhouse, but the problem is you get out of your car and there's a chance you could get shot. So it's not in the best area. But Klondike bars, another good thing. It seems like food in general has changed to the point where that a lot of things get ruined. Thrifty ice cream. Actually, it's funny. Enable Shaver talks about thrifty ice cream. We actually have a brand new thrifty ice cream that opened up in one of our malls, and it's exactly the same, 33 cents per scoop, and you get the chocolate malted crunch. If that reminds you of one, and they were square. The actual scoops were square, so that
Wait,
was pretty cool.
right now you have one,
Uh huh. Yep. They
and it's
brought it back.
33 cents right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yep. It's all that. That other stuff. So, those of you barflies, give us a couple more pet peeves that you have as far as hobbies, because we did kind of derail a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
It's been a good conversation. I think this has been one of the best barfly engagements that we've had in a long time.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget, we got to make the plug. And don't for where's my button here? Go subscribe so we can
Yes.
get over to the Drinks and Dave's channel. That's the
Yeah.
ultimate goal, right?
Because currently, as most of you know, we are broadcasting live on both Barber Dave's Barbershop at Home and Nurse Dave's Shaving World. Now, eventually, what we want to do is we want to be completely self-supporting and
And
have it on the
we
channel.
want
So
nothing to do with those fools, right?
exactly, those two guys are just goobers. But anyways, yeah. So get your friends to subscribe. All we have to do is get to 100, and I think at last count we were at 30. I don't know, 30 and some change.
That's embarrassing. Just
Well,
embarrassing.
we're starting out. We're getting
All
there
right.
slowly but surely.
All right.
But
Dave, do we need to start making a care package that we slowly add things to that when we get to 100, then we do a
I
raffle?
think we might have to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Bowtie RN. We
Okay.
certainly appreciate it.
This
And
is exactly the kind of underhanded shenanigans that we fully endorse. I mean,
mhm,
how much time would it take even Bowtie to create 100 different accounts and join with all of them?
exactly. And
In
plus, he
fact, I'll
taught
be
us.
right back.
Yeah, he taught us all how to tie a bow tie the other night. So that was
You
pretty
did.
cool. So here's one that's kind of a pet peeve. Restaurants from the 60s and 70s that were really good at breakfast, because there is nothing like a good breakfast. A diner, and Sambo's was huge.
I remember
Sambo's was
Sambo's.
fantastic, but obviously it wasn't considered politically correct, because those of you that went to Sambo's remember that the story of Sambo started on one end of the restaurant and then went all the way around, and you could see what happened. Now, obviously, it wasn't politically correct at the time, but
Hmm.
it was there. So, I think pet
All
peeves
right.
in general are a good thing. I mean, because right now, and I was talking earlier about the Carnation breakfast bars. There is a Facebook page that's got 167,000 signups to talk to Nestle about bringing back the Carnation breakfast bar.
Puddin' Pops, Dave.
Oh, pudding
I
pops. There you
miss
go.
me a pudding pop. And for some reason, the chemistry of a pudding pop was just so that if you treated it like Rich does a cigar, and you get it kind of wet all around the outside and let it sit for a second, it would like refreeze like the shell on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they were creamy and the flavors were. I miss a pudding pop.
Yeah.
There you
I mean,
go.
there's things that it's amazing that there's certain things that we all had that we remember. And Bill Cosby maybe one of the reasons why.
Oh, it went away before. It went away before. Oh, and I do remember this: the carnation milkshake in a can.
Oh, do you
That was
remember
pretty
in that
good.
same realm, the carnation milkshake that came in a can? Also, they had a bottle of malted milk that you could add to like chocolate milk, and it was malt. It was
You
chocolate
mean a
malt.
liquid?
No, it was a powder. It was a
Oh, yeah,
powder that you
yeah,
put in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I love me the malted milk. That was my favorite. You just get vanilla ice cream and douse it in that malted powder stuff. Mm,
Yeah, it's just good. It's just great, great, great,
those
great
are the
stuff. Well, let's
yeah.
give it another
All right.
another chance. Is there any other pet peeves out in the barfly world in our lounge that you guys would like us to talk about?
Man, malted milk. Yeah, they still make malt. You get malts, right? You can still
Right,
go to like Baskin Robbins and get a malt.
right.
But I know my wife didn't had never heard of malts, but that was my dad loved those from when he was a
Mm-hmm.
kid, and that's kind of
Right.
where I learned. There was a what the I don't know if it was a chain. There was some pizza place that also did huge sundaes and things. Did you know that? And they had like a big, huge copper bowl that if you were having like a
Well,
party or something,
we had what we
barrel.
called Farrells. Yeah,
Yeah,
Farrells we had here, and it was great because we had the pig trough. That's what the big thing was, and if
yeah,
you ate it, yep.
yeah. But they had a sundae called the Dusty Road because they would put a trail of malt on top of the ice cream.
Oh, here's another one. And we've gone from pet peeves to going down into retro stuff. Howard Johnson's. They had the best clams on Friday night at a Howard
What?
Johnson's. Oh, it was so good.
All I know of is Howard Johnson's was a motel, wasn't it?
No, but they had
Also,
a
or
restaurant. They always had a restaurant in the front. And you
uh,
could on Friday nights we'd go down and have the clams and the fried clams and French fries. Oh, it was delicious.
all right. Well, here's the final. I think this is the final thought. The Hallmark Channel general pet peeve. I think we can end it there. We're at an hour 20 something. Uh,
Well, let's talk about the Hallmark. Yes, the Hallmark Channel. Every time you click on the Hallmark Channel, it's a Christmas movie. It's always a Christmas movie. It's always a Christmas movie.
you might get me in trouble with this discussion as well. Although I think anybody, even if you love the Hallmark Channel and the movies, the theme is all the same, right? It's some some lady is engaged to some guy, and then she has to go back home for something and meets up with a childhood whatever, and they're just going to be friends, and then boom.
That's true.
I don't know that
And
that's a wholesome image, right? That you were committed to somebody and you go back home and you blow up everybody's life. Anyway,
well, yeah, I mean that's
and
true.
this is a good point. Rich always finishes things off.
That's true. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to remind everybody that we've got one more show next week, and then we're going to be taking a 2 week hiatus.
Hiatus.
So make sure you email us with any of your suggestions. But we have a very, very exceptionally crazy idea for our next show. And for those of you that have heard of an app on your phone called Nextdoor,
Yes, we
we're going
want
to
your
be
help to pre-plan for this one.
exactly. Now, Nextdoor is an app that was originally created for your neighborhood. So you've all got neighborhoods around you and you belong to a neighborhood. Now, originally when Nextdoor came out, it was created for you to sell stuff. So let's say Dave had some widgets that he wanted to sell. He would put it up for sale on
My
Nextdoor.
beanie babies.
Exactly, his Beanie Babies. And people would go in and say, "Hey, I'll buy your Beanie Babies," and go from there. Now, Nextdoor has devolved into something that we will discuss on next week's show. And I do need to just real quickly, 6 o'clock is a good time. We hope that's a good time for all of you guys. And so make sure that you join us for our next show. And again, as Dave mentioned earlier, we're trying to build this channel as quickly as we can. Go to go to Barber Dave's Barbershop at Home. Look at the merchandise store. You can get your Drinks and Dave's t-shirts. You can get your Drinks and Dave's coffee mugs. We're going to be adding some more products, but we're not doing so much of that yet until we are on our own standalone show. So tell your friends, get them to subscribe.
As soon as we have our own place, we are going to have socks and bras and golf balls and golf tees and baseball bats, right?
Well, I don't know about the bra thing, but I guess
Oh,
we could look at that.
I can't wait, Dave. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks for
thank you
joining
so
us.
much for joining us. We had 13. That's our biggest audience yet. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us at Drinks and Dave's in this craziness. I need to thank my good friend Dave for having this idea for us to start doing this. And we thank all of you barflies for being here. Without you guys, this show doesn't happen. So make sure you join us next week, next Monday. And that will be what date? It will be the 17th of July at Dave, 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
At 6 p.m. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that have not watched it, tell your friends that they can watch it either on the Nurse Dave's Shaving World site or the Barber Dave Barbershop at Home site for replays. And again, once we get to 100 guys, we'll just do it on that channel whatsoever.
Thongs and arrows and oven covers. We're going to have it all.
Exactly. So once again, thanks everybody. Let me do it real quick. So we'd like to thank the Enabled Shaver, Steve Crosby, Tig Lily, Pantea, Frank, Bowtie, Rich, Straight Faced, Matt, P Beat. Who else? Did I miss anybody? I probably did.
You're all my favorite.
Yeah, you guys are all our favorites. We really, 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 really appreciate you joining us. And we'll see you next week at 6 p.m. Dave, say goodnight.
Good night.
Say goodnight, Dave. Good night, Dave. Take care. Bye-bye now.